Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to do some router work, basically removing all these white sections here, and then we will use the scroll saw to cut out the image right at the end. But for now we'll focus on the scroll sawing side of things. As always for me, on most of these projects, we've stuck down the image we want, and I basically just put good old carbon paper underneath. And you can draw around that with a pen or a pencil. I prefer to use a pen just because it shows up better. And once you draw all the way around, there's your template pattern all nicely done out. And that way you could use that again and again should you want to. We'll just put that to one side. So there we are, all ready to go. And like I say, it measures at 26 inches by 15 inches across. So the idea is to route out all these sections. If you prefer, you can get a pencil and mark off, I'm more or less now on this one, the ones that you want to remove, just in case you come back and start routing out these middle sections. So bear that in mind. It might be worth taking 2 seconds, put crosses on, scribbles, whatever you prefer, just so you don't mess up somewhere along the line. Now, as always for me, we're going to use CNC bits. These are great little bits. They do have a small shaft on them, a 3.175mm shaft, and they come in different angles, degrees, should I say. These are 20s and 30s. That one's 20s as well, but they do come in 15s and 10s. So they are quite small, but they do the job what you want. There is other bits out there, profile bits, liner bits, but for your money, you can't go wrong with these little CNC bits like so. So regarding the small shaft, you will need what they call an adapter reducer collet. Basically just a little tube, a couple of splits in the side, and you just slide that in there. That has now got a 1/4 inch shaft on it, or 6.35mm, and that will fit your router no problem. If your router takes 1/2 inch, you also need an 1/2 inch adapter. So we will use this, set it to about 3 or 4mm. I do have a piece of wood somewhere, if I can just find it. You can buy depth gauges and all the rest of it off eBay or Amazon. I'll just have a little marker like so. And once that's inside the router, we can sit the router on there. Just set it to whatever depth we like. Once that's all routed out, all these sections here, we will come in with a scroll saw, cut it out, do a bit of shaping on the sides, just take off these sharp edges. And then we're looking to spraying it or staining it. On the old Spiderman images, it was basically red in here with your black surround. On the newer ones, it's gone silver. So we might spray some silver on this, the full piece, but still incorporate the red sections in the middle. Now the two options we've got is we can paint all these red inside here, give it all a nice sanding down, and then come in with our stain or brush in between. Or for me on this one, once I've personally ordered some, and hopefully it'll be here in time, we're just going to pour some red resin into all these different sections, and that'll just give it a nice crispy finish. If resin is not your thing, you could paint inside there just as easy. So we do all our lines with these CNC bits, and then we'll come in with these end milling bits. Now the older ones used to have these plastic barrier things on, and you just push that into your same adapter like so, and you basically just set it to the same depth, and we will use this to clear out all this. On the newer ones now, I think they've done away with those plastic ones, so they're basically just pins only like this, but they are the same piece minus that little plastic barrier. And I think that will be enough for this kind of wood. This is recycled, obviously. You can see by this, we've got fittings down here, there's screws left in there. So, come off an old, I would say pine. It's a funny pine is this one. I won't like to say what kind of wood it is. But it's free wood, and that's the best wood for me. So, okay, so let's set this up in the router. Our little CNC bit in the adapter. We'll start routing this one out. Right, so we've made it all the way round with that little CNC bit there. And if you can see, if I can just turn this round without wrecking the place, when we route out, we were going to route out up to the line, never on the line itself. If you were to route on the line there and there, that section in the middle will become a lot smaller. So you might just see that pencil line there. It did go a bit funny up here. That would just be the wood itself. Remember, this is all made up of different sections glued together, and it got a little bit jaggy there, but we will certainly sort that out with our end milling bits, that is for sure. So that's the lines all done. Remember, there'll be better bits out there, I'm sure, but they certainly come with a bigger price tag. If you're just starting out, end milling bits and your CNC bits are ideal. So we're going to start off with a small one. I'm certainly in no rush with my projects, and it is a simple case of removing the CNC bit. You will get a lot more projects out of that one, and simply just slide that into there like so. Like I say, we go up to that barrier. On the newer ones, they don't have the barrier, and you notice on here I remove a couple of little sections so we can pop that in our router. We'll set it to that depth there, and we know that will be the nice depth to remove all the remaining sections. Now, I have used bigger bits in the past. These straight flush bits, you certainly won't use something like that. That will tear into that, no problem. And any delicate areas, they could chip off. But certainly with a smaller one like that one, if I can get the lid off, something like that, that would work fine on this project. But personally myself, I just take my time, get in the zone, as we say, and I'm quite happy to use one of these. But if it's not coming out too clever, we might just pop one of those on. Okay, let's pop this back in the router and remove all these sections here. Right, you can see from that, we've cleared all those out with that end milling bit. Now, I just used that one little bit there to do the full piece, and it cut through it like butter. Must just be nice wood today. And you can see from that, it's all nicely done. The good thing about those end milling bits, if I can just hold this proper, they do smooth out the bottom as well as cutting the side sections. So you really don't want a lot of work left to do on that. But I still like to go around with a Dremel. I just wonder if I have the bit on here now, just to show you quickly. Here we go. I like a little engraving bit. Similar to that one, this is a little bit too pointy, this one. I will change this. And we will eventually just go around, give it a nice clean up like so. And I want to round off these edges a little bit. And obviously we have those pencil lines to clear off. So before that, we're going to cut it out on a scroll saw. Now obviously you could leave that on there if you had better wood, without all these nasty screws and fittings all around. If I just pick it up again to show you, we've got all sorts kicking about there. That's not going to affect us because we are going to cut it out. So just bear that in mind. And what I did mention before, you notice with your woods, we've got a nasty knot there. And just down there in this left-hand corner, there's another knot just down there. So play about with your templates. That's why mine's gone slightly to one side, so we can clear this nasty knot. And the other one will be there, look perfect. Remember, that's all going to get painted eventually. So just bear in mind, take your time, place your template in the best position. Right, for cutting out, for me personally, I use what they call spiral blades. Spirals are perfect for a project like this because of the size. because the blades are spiraled, there is no turning of the wood at all. So you could basically just start there and just feed that, and you can go all the way around the full piece if wanted to without turning once. Your more commoner saws, they will use what they call pin blades, and they have a little pin at both ends, and they will just simply hook on your saw like so. Remember, with all your blades, spirals and straight blades, they want to feel smooth on the way down and rough on the way up. That way you know your blade's in the right way. Excuse me. You'll soon notice they will cut in the wrong way, but all your powder will get pushed to the top of the template, and you might just find your wood jumps a bit more. So you'll soon know when your blade is in the wrong way. And for the more professional guys, they use these little pinless blades on the fancier saws, and it's literally a clamp that clamps at the top and bottom and holds it in place. With my little drapper over there in the corner, it only takes pin blades, so I have to use these adapter clamps. So that replaces the hook section that you would normally hook on a pin blade, and they work fine. Okay, pegless number 5 spiral. Excuse me. Pegless number 5 spiral. We'll pop it in the saw, and if we cut all this out, and then we'll sand it down a bit, round these edges off, clear inside there, and then we'll be on to spraying or staining. We'll make our mind up when we get there, but for now, let's cut it out. Right, we've cut all the way around the image itself. I think next time we should have maybe just cut around a bit quicker. Just take off that waist, because it was quite a good size to go. But with the Pegasus number 5 spiral blades, it's all come out no problem. So if there's an easier way of making it work, definitely try that. So next time we'll take off all this spare section there first. And that's it. There's our overall image. We will go around with a mouse sander now. Just round it all off. Clear inside there. But clear out. It doesn't need a lot. I mean, you can see from that. That looks fine as it is. But I do prefer just to go inside with some Dremel engraving bits. These are just eBay or Amazon. You'll get a packet of 30 for next to nothing, with different shaped heads on. And they're ideal. And I've just got mine on the end of my Dremel there, on the old flexi shaft. Nice flat bottom, and we can use that just to clear that out like so. Good bit of sandpaper, just get rid of our pencil lines, and the old mouse sander there just to sort it all out. So we do all that tidying up, and then we'll be on towards the painting side of things. Right, that's enough sanding down for me. I actually got the little sanding drum on the end, at the end of the flexi cable there, just to round off the bottom sections. So we've rounded these off all nicely, and the rest was just done with the mouse sander, little Dremel, and good old sandpaper. And we've rounded off all these edges the best we can. It's just worth taking that extra 10 minutes or so just to finish your project off. So next stage now I've googled a couple of images regarding Spider-Man. In the old days this would all be in black with the red sections in between. As time's moved on, I think he has a big silver spider in front of him now. And originally I was going to spray this all silver and a red would really pop out. But I'm liking the bit of grain that we do have in here, even though we've got the knot there right in front of the spider's head. So for now, I'm just going to go on with a light teak wood stain. I'm going to say dye then. Wood dye. There you go. Light teak dye. We're just going to brush the full piece on, getting all those side walls, and then we'll see how it dries. And if it's okay, we'll spray a bit of varnish on it and then put in our resin. If it's not as good as we think it should have been, we will just spray over the top. We'll spray it black or something, I don't know. So we're going to see how this dries. Nothing too fancy with this, let's just get it on. We need to get all those side walls done. When I fill the resin in, we're not going to come right to the top. I always like to leave my projects so you can still feel that it's been routed out. So we will basically just cover all this like so. Not forgetting to get into those lovely side sections down there, all the way around. So we can just throw it on, nothing fancy about it. Give it all a wipe down with a cloth afterwards. So we'll come back when this is all nicely dry. And hopefully it'll be okay, just put our resin in with a little bit of varnish, spray varnish first. Okay, we'll come back when this is done. Right, it's the next day. Now this is a little bit strange one really. We start off with our light teak wood dye, and for some reason it come out with this kind of effect. It's not really tucked to that at all at the bottom. Now that's a first for me. Now all I can think of is, obviously when we sanded this down, we've sanded more of the top section to get rid of pencil lines. And whatever they've put on here first, there's obviously some of that still incorporated. If I can just turn this round to show you. Obviously we've started off with this varnish, veneer, covering, whatever it is. And that is lovely and smooth. So personally myself, I think we wanted a bit more sanding down on this, and we could do that. We could sand that down now, down to the more barer wood, should we call it, underneath, and put a bit more stain on. But I'm liking that effect. This is a bit different for me. All my projects are solid colours, solid dyes, nice, bright and cheerful. I'm going to go a bit arty-farty today, as we say. So I'm going to try this for now, leaving that darker colour at the top. Now that is slightly darker, because I literally had a little bit left of the dark teak, and I've deliberately gone over the top section and just leaving the bottom section as it was. And the same with the sides. We've gone nice and dark, and then we've gone to the lighter sections there. So I'm going to leave it at this for now, he says. We're going to spray some varnish on this. Two reasons being, one, I do like my little shiny on the end of my projects just to finish it off. And the second reason, it'll just help seal inside these sections here. It didn't really lost a lot of it, to be honest. And when we put our resin in, it just help ease any of those little bubbles that want to pop up. So nice spray over. And I'm hoping, I'm a bit out of breath today, I've had a rush around. I'm hoping that when we spray this on, it will just darken these down slightly. If it's a total disaster, we'll just sand it all off and go for our original black spray, which I have over here waiting in the wings should we need it. So for now, we're just going to spray it over this varnish, and if it comes out as nice as what we want, then I'm quite happy just to leave it. You can see how dark that's going there, hopefully. And I will take this outside. A bit drizzly today, so we'll try and catch it in between the raindrops. Not forgetting to do all our side walls as well. Okay. I'll do this 3 or 4 times. On a nice sunny day, it actually dries in a matter of minutes. But today, it might just take us a little bit longer. Okay, we'll come back when this is done. And if it looks alright, we'll go straight for the resin. Right, it's resin time. So we've sprayed all our varnish on there. It's hard to tell in here, but we've got a lovely shine going down there, look. And I think that just finishes the project off. Plus, remember, hopefully we've sealed in here a little bit. You don't get a lot of bubbles, but it won't do you any harm just to spray the full piece. And also the reason why we do the full piece with the stain or paint, it just darkens that background down. So when you put your coloured resin in, if it's not as thick or as dark or solid colour as we want, this dark background will just help it a little bit more. So it's all nicely sprayed. So resin it is. My favourite at the moment is Vista 1 resin. It's a two-part, like all your resins. And this is what they call a 1-to-1 mix. So whatever amount of A, your resin, we mix exactly the same amount of B, your hardener. Some resins are 2-to-1, 3-to-1. Some resins are deep pours. Some resins like these are just for crafts and stuff. So all I tend to use is these little plastic party cups, beacons, whatever they are. And they've got little grooves on the side. So I tend to I'll count up, excuse me, get it off there before we start. I want to count up 6 of the A. And obviously we want 6 of the B. And we'll just pour that into there. And pour that one into there. These have just arrived this morning, so they're nice and new, so we've got plenty of resin to go at. And then you just mix the two together. Personally myself, I just pour B into A because that flows a little bit better. They do say in the instructions, pour both containers into another one. It's not something I've ever done, and I've never had any issues. Please put your gloves on. Don't follow me. Put your gloves on. You want a proper resin mask and plenty of ventilation. This stuff can be nasty on your fingers, and obviously if you're breathing it in too much, so be careful. It's a chemical at the end of the day. Once we've mixed it up, plenty of red and just a little bit of white acrylic paint. There is powders out there, dyes, inks for mixing wise. And for mixing, personally myself, I just use these cheap plastic knife and forks. They're ideal because you can mix it and they have a nice groove at the back there. And for me personally, you can just scoop that and tip that in. There's also syringes you could use, or those pipettes. I might just have one here if I look quickly. Well, we found you a syringe. That is possible. You can actually suck that up and squirt that in. It's just not, doesn't work for me. I'll stick to the back of the plastic knife and spoon. Okay, we'll mix this off camera. And then when we come back, pop our red in and basically start filling these in. And as we fill a few in, we'll literally skim across the top with a lighter, preferably one that works, like that, once the resin's inside, and that just helps all those little bubbles come to the top. Okay, we'll mix our first little batch up. I'd rather mix small batches like so. Remember, we're going to get twice the amount of that. Then mix in a full beaker, put it to one side, and then it starts going hard. You'll have half an hour or so to play with it, depending on the temperature. So let's mix smaller batches, and then we don't have any wastage. If there is any waste left over, I have one of these little moulds to one side. There's some from our last projects, and they just make nice little cubes that you can incorporate into something else, I'm sure. Okay, let's start filling this one up. Right, there's our first batch mixed up. We're not too concerned about the colour of that. If you let that stand for a bit, or you can put it in a little cup of warm water, that will go a lot clearer. And that's not going to affect us as we're putting colour in. And you notice there, I just put that little cap in there, just so I don't get too carried away and fill in the white of the eye with red resin. Now they do say with your colours, you want about 10% of your colour per whatever amount of resin. Personally myself, I'll just put in what I think. I'm hoping we're going to get some red out of this today. Like so. A little dollop in there, and we can give it a good mix round. And that red will soon come through like so. And then we can pop a bit into one of these sections, see what it looks like. And if we're happy with that, we can just start filling this in. Remember, we've darkened the back area, so if it is a little bit too light, it shouldn't be too much over the top. So remember, we've got our little scoop there, at the back of the spoon, and we can literally just drop a bit in there, like so. I want to literally be about 3/4 of the way up this. We get a little cocktail stick, and that will just help feed it on its way, like so. Okay, we'll put a bit more in there, and then we can carry on filling the rest in. Right, that's all nicely filled in. Now, to be honest, I did this over 2 days, only because I had other things to do. So some of these are actually already cured and set already. Some are not. So after we've gone each piece going in, we've got our little lighter, and we just skim over the top like that. It's hard to see on the camera, but that just helps all those little bubbles come to the top. And the reason why I separated them all, basically not starting there with the red and working down, is obviously because when you mix different batches, your reds may not be exactly the same. So I like to spread them about a bit, and it just adds to the effect if you come back another day and mix another batch up. But we can see from that, that's all nicely filled in. We've had no issues. So we'll leave this for a good 24 hours, put a nice cover over the top. Any dust flies, they will find it. So we'll come back 24 hours plus, back down in the shed, and we'll see how this one's finished. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. Now I put the final white resin in the eye there. We stepped back to admire the work, and they were just wasn't quite comfortable with this little one here. This was all red originally, so I left it and went back again an hour later, and I kept going back and forward, and then I realised this one here should have been the right eye. So we basically got a screwdriver, poked all the red resin out, and popped a bit of white in there, and I think it just finishes it off nicely. And you can see from that, everything's nice and solid. This is just over 24 hours later. Personally, I'll leave it another couple of days. They do say in resin groups it can take up to 30 days to fully cure. I'm not a resin manufacturer, but it seems a bit over the top. And smaller sections, they take longer to cure than if you'd covered a full-size table. Very bizarre, I know. But that's it. So everything's gone in fine. The colour there is really nice. I'm liking this effect from the dark stain there, dark teak, to the light teak. And remember, we did all the side bits. And we have a lovely shine there from that varnish that we sprayed on. So that's it. This little project is finished. So we cut it out on recycled pine, we're going to call this one. Remember, this was originally a wardrobe or something to start off with. We did all our routing work first. We used little CNC bits here to do all our lines. And then we come in with the good old end milling bits. Once we've done all that, we came in with a Pegasus number 5 spiral blade. These are excellent because the blades do spiral the full length, so you can cut in any direction. Ideal for a large piece like this. And then we tidied it up with the mouse sander and the Dremel, if you remember. And originally I was going to spray it all silver or black, but we went for the two little stains in the end, a light teak and a dark teak. And then before the resin went in, we give it a nice spray with a 151 varnish. That's literally just to, for me personally, it just finishes the project off. that lovely shine, and it obviously helps seal the wood slightly. And then we came with our Vista 1 resin, my favourite at this moment in time, and I just mix cheap acrylic paints with that. There is powders, inks and dyes, and everything's gone okay. For hanging purposes, it took me a couple of attempts, I will fill them in a minute, just get the balance right of the project, and that hangs really nice. And that's it. Spiderman routed out on recycled pine and inlaid with resin mixed with acrylic paints, and it measures in at 26 inches by 15 inches across. Thank you very much for watching.